The screams hit me first. Then I saw them, three massive lions tearing through the main plaza of Roosevelt Wildlife Park. Families stampeded toward the exits. Children wailed. Security guards shouted into radios. Everyone ran, except one young man in a faded hoodie, standing frozen near the fountain as 450 pounds of apex predator charged straight toward him. What happened next defied everything I knew about lions. Before we dive into this incredible true story, if you love unbelievable real-life stories like this one, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss another amazing tale. Drop a comment below with your prediction. Do you think the young man survived? Let's get into it. The fire alarm screamed through Roosevelt Wildlife Park in Denver, Colorado at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a sweltering August afternoon. Within seconds, chaos erupted. Families scattered in every direction as three massive lions, Atlas, Titan, and Caesar, burst through their compromised enclosure gate, the electronic locks having failed during the emergency system malfunction. I'm Derek Hutchinson, Senior Animal Care Specialist at Roosevelt, and I was near the primate exhibit when I heard the screams. My blood turned to ice. Every nightmare scenario we trained for was unfolding in real time. Visitors trampled each other toward the exits. Parents scooped up children. Security guards shouted into radios. The acrid smell of electrical fire mixed with the deafening alarm. But through the pandemonium, I noticed something strange. While Titan and Caesar circles nervously near the shattered gate, clearly disoriented by the alarm and smoke, Atlas moved with purpose. His massive golden mane rippled as he headed not toward the panicked crowds, but toward the East Service Road, the path that led directly into the residential neighborhoods of Cherry Creek. My heart hammered as I sprinted after him, calling for backup. A 450-pound lion loose in suburban Denver? This would end in tragedy. Armed response teams mobilized. Helicopters thundered overhead. Local news went live. Every second counted. Atlas moved through Riverside Park with surprising stealth for his size. Joggers fled. Dog walkers abandoned their pets. I radioed my position, lungs burning, watching his golden mane disappear around the fountain plaza. Then I saw him. A young man in his mid-20s, wearing a faded University of Colorado hoodie, standing completely still near the fountain, right in Atlas's path. All units, code red. Lion heading east through Riverside Park. I gasped into my radio, dodging abandoned double stroller. Within seconds, the world above me erupted. Two police helicopters thundered overhead, their rotors cutting through the summer air. News choppers followed close behind. On the ground, tactical response teams poured from black SUVs at every park entrance, rifles at ready positions. Atlas moved like a ghost despite his size. 450 pounds of muscle flowing between trees and playground equipment with unsettling grace. Most people didn't see him until he was already past. A jogger glanced back mid-stride and stumbled into a trash can. A woman walking three dogs dropped all their leashes simultaneously, her pets scattering in different directions. Cars on the adjacent street slammed brakes, creating a cacophony of screeching tires and blaring horns. Back at the zoo, Titan and Caesar were circling their damaged enclosure gate, confused and agitated by the alarm. They wanted back in. They wanted safety. Atlas wanted something else entirely. I'd cared for him since his arrival 8 years ago. I knew his feeding schedule, his favorite enrichment activities, the way he'd press his face against the glass when children visited. Protocol demanded I authorize lethal force the moment a civilian was at risk. But watching his movement now, ears forward, tail steady, no hunting crouch, nothing about this read as predatory behavior. He was searching. But for what? Then I spotted the young man near the fountain plaza. Mid-20s, faded University of Colorado hoodie, hands relaxed at his sides. He stood motionless as Atlas padded directly toward him, closing the distance with terrifying speed. "Run!" I screamed, still 40 yards away. "Get out of there!" The man didn't move, didn't even turn his head. Atlas was 30 feet away, 20 feet, 10. Red laser dots painted the lion's shoulder from 3 different angles. My radio crackled. Permission to engage? My throat closed. I was about to watch someone die. Time fractured into horrible slow motion. Atlas closed to 10 feet, 8 feet, 6. His massive paws compressed the grass with each step, golden mane catching the afternoon light. Every tactical officer held their breath, waiting for my command. But the young man in the Colorado hoodie did something that defied every human instinct. He took a slow, deliberate breath and kept his hands visible at his sides, not frozen in terror, choosing stillness. I watched his eyes track Atlas's movement, not the frantic darting of prey, but measured observation. He was reading the lion, body language, intent, and somehow, impossibly, he decided he wasn't in danger. Target approaching civilian, the tactical commander's voice cracked through my radio. Hutchinson, call it. Hold, I gasped, my voice barely working. Just hold. 5 feet, 4 feet, 3. Atlas's shoulder brushed past the young man's leg and kept walking. The young man exhaled slowly, turned his head slightly toward me as I skidded to a stop beside him. He's looking for something, he said quietly, his voice remarkably steady. Someone. I followed Atlas's focused trajectory, past the fountain, past the scattered picnic tables, straight toward the cottonwood grove at the park's east corner. An elderly woman sat on a wooden bench beneath the sprawling branches, completely absorbed in scattering breadcrumbs from the paper bag. Pigeons clustered at her feet, pecking contentedly. Her silver hair caught the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. She hadn't looked up, hadn't noticed the helicopters, the armed officers, the 450-pound lion padding directly toward her. "Ma'am!" I shouted, breaking into a sprint again. "Don't move!" 3 sniper rifles swiveled, red dots converging on Atlas's skull. My radio exploded with overlapping voices. Clear shot, civilian in immediate danger, permission to engage. Atlas reached the bench, lowered his massive head. The woman looked up from her pigeons, paper bag still in her weathered hands. Her eyes met Atlas's amber gaze with strange recognition, and she smiled. "Atlas," she said softly. The word hung in the air like a spell. Every weapon stayed trained. Every trigger finger remained tense. But no one fired, because Atlas's entire body transformed. His tail, which had been rigid and focused, began to sway. Slow, rhythmic, like a metronome marking time. The coiled tension in his shoulders melted away. His ears, previously forward and alert, softened. Atlas took 3 careful steps toward the bench. Then, in a movement that made every armed officer freeze in confusion, he lowered his massive body to the ground and pressed his head against the woman's legs. The purr started low, then built until I could hear it from 20 feet away, a deep, rumbling sound that seemed impossible from a creature surrounded by helicopters and rifle scopes. "Ma'am, please don't move," I called out, approaching slowly with my hands visible, my heart hammered against my ribs. "We're going to get you out of this safely." She looked up at me with calm, knowing eyes and ran her weathered hand along Atlas's mane. The lion leaned into her touch like a house cat. "It's all right, young man," she said gently. "He remembers me." "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Dorothy Callahan, retired veterinarian from Boulder." She continued stroking Atlas, her movements practiced and confident. 12 years ago, I was volunteering with a wildlife rescue organization in Tanzania. Beautiful work, heartbreaking work. I knelt slowly, keeping distance but close enough to intervene if needed. "Ma'am, I need you to—" "I found this boy beside his mother's body," Dorothy continued, her eyes glistening. "Poachers had killed her for her bones. He was 3 months old, injured, starving, barely clinging to life. Atlas's purring intensified. His eyes were half closed in contentment. I spent 4 months nursing him back to health in a rehabilitation facility. Round-the-clock feedings, medical care, patience. Her voice caught slightly. But he'd been too humanized, too comfortable with people. He couldn't survive in the wild. "So you brought him here," I said quietly, the pieces clicking together. I personally arranged his placement at Roosevelt, made sure he'd have the best life possible. Dorothy's hand trembled slightly as she stroked his mane. Yesterday was the first time I'd visited in years. I stood by his enclosure, called his name. She looked down at Atlas with profound tenderness. The way he looked at me, I thought maybe he'd forgotten, but he hadn't. "He wasn't escaping," Dorothy said, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "He was searching for me." I watched Atlas's contentment, the way he leaned into her touch and understood. When the alarm screamed and the locks failed, Atlas hadn't seen chaos, he'd seen opportunity. Her scent from yesterday's visit still lingered in his memory. Her voice calling his name had awakened something dormant for 12 years. Around us, armed officers slowly lowered their weapons. Helicopter cameras captured every moment. My radio crackled with the zoo director's stunned voice. "Hutchinson, what the hell is happening down there?" "Something I've never seen before," I replied quietly. Brandon Mitchell approached, hands still loose at his sides. "I knew he wasn't hunting," he explained. His eyes weren't tracking movement. His posture wasn't aggressive. He was looking for something specific. He shrugged. "If I didn't act like prey, I wouldn't be treated like prey." 20 years of training, hundreds of emergency drills, countless protocols memorized. None of it had prepared me for this. "Mrs. Callahan," I said carefully, "we need to get Atlas back to the facility. Can you help us?" She smiled. "Of course. Atlas, come on, sweetheart. Time to go home." The lion rose, shook his mane, and followed her like an obedient dog. We didn't need tranquilizers, didn't need the specially designed transport cage. Atlas walked beside Dorothy the entire mile back to Roosevelt, an honor guard of stunned zoo personnel and officers flanking them. News crews filmed every step. At the gates, our director, Dr. Patricia Chen, met us, her eyes red-rimmed. "Mrs. Callahan, you have lifetime access, anytime, every day if you want." Dorothy visited every single day after that. Atlas would press against the reinforced glass the moment she appeared, that same deep purr rumbling through his chest. Meanwhile, Titan and Caesar, who'd never left the zoo grounds, were secured without incident. They'd wanted safety. Atlas had wanted something more. The story exploded internationally. Scientists debated animal consciousness. Researchers studied interspecies bonds. But those of us who witnessed it needed no studies. We'd seen something that transcended species, time, and logic. We'd seen love remembered. Every morning at 9 a.m. sharp, Dorothy arrived at Roosevelt Wildlife Park with her worn leather bag and a thermos of tea. Atlas would be waiting at the glass before she even reached the viewing area, as if he could sense her coming. She'd read to him, poetry, wildlife journals, sometimes just the morning newspaper. The zoo nutritionists approved special treats she'd bring, particular cuts of meat he'd loved as a cub. She'd sit for 3, sometimes 4 hours, her weathered hand pressed against the glass while Atlas pressed his massive head against the other side. "He's like a different lion," my colleague Sarah observed one afternoon. "More alert, more engaged." She was right. Atlas's entire demeanor had transformed. His eyes tracked Dorothy's every movement. When she wasn't there, he seemed to be waiting, patient but purposeful. Dorothy and I became friends during those months. She'd tell me stories about Tanzania, elephants she'd treated, cheetahs she'd rehabilitated, the heartbreak and triumph of conservation work. "They're all special," she said once, pausing to catch her breath. "But Atlas, He's the one who taught me that some bonds are unbreakable. I noticed the pauses becoming more frequent, the way she'd forget what she was saying mid-sentence, then laugh and wave it off. Some days she looked so tired I'd insist she sit in one of the staff chairs instead of the bench. But she never missed a day. The zoo transformed because of her. We developed new enrichment programs, started studying the emotional lives of our animals more seriously. Dr. Chen cited Dorothy in every grant proposal. Brandon Mitchell started volunteering, eventually enrolling in wildlife biology courses. That day changed everything, he told me. Atlas showed me trust and instinct matter more than fear. Donations poured in. School groups came specifically to hear Dorothy's story. She became a fixture, a legend, a reminder that love transcends species. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning in March. Dorothy had passed peacefully in her sleep, her daughter's voice told me. Natural causes, no pain. I stood in my office, receiver pressed to my ear, knowing I'd have to watch Atlas discover that his guardian angel wasn't coming back, and knowing there was nothing I could do to prepare him for that loss. Atlas waited by the glass for 3 days straight. He barely touched his food, didn't respond to enrichment activities, just pressed his massive head against the viewing window at 9 a.m. each morning, golden eyes fixed on the pathway where Dorothy would appear. Except she never did. I've worked with big cats for 15 years, Sarah told me, her voice breaking. I've never seen grief like this. Never. None of us had. And it shattered something inside me to witness it. 2 weeks later, Dorothy's attorney contacted Dr. Chen with news that left us speechless. Dorothy's entire estate, nearly $2 million, had been left to Roosevelt Wildlife Park. Every penny designated for expanding big cat habitats and funding rescue operations. She wanted to save more cubs like Atlas, the attorney explained. She wanted her love to multiply. The Callahan Sanctuary broke ground 6 months later. We designed it with Dorothy in mind. Sprawling terrain, natural vegetation, and gardens of her favorite flowers, lavender, wild roses, sunflowers that turned their faces toward the sun. Atlas moved into the new space on a crisp October morning. He explored slowly, methodically, as if searching for her in every corner. But gradually, something shifted. He began to heal, carrying Dorothy's memory in the beauty surrounding him. The sanctuary funded rescue operations across 3 continents, dozens of big cats, cubs orphaned by poachers, lions injured by traps, tigers displaced by habitat loss, found safety because of Dorothy's gift. Atlas lived to 18, ancient for a lion. He passed peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by sunflowers. Brandon Mitchell became a wildlife behaviorist, publishing groundbreaking research on interspecies bonds. He wrote in his first book, "Everything I know about trust, I learned from a lion searching for love." Today, a bronze plaque stands at the sanctuary entrance, Dorothy's photo beside an image of Atlas as a tiny cub. The inscription reads, "Some bonds transcend species. Some love defies logic." I visit often, running my hand along that plaque. In a world of cruelty and chaos, Atlas and Dorothy proved that love, loyalty, and memory are among Earth's most powerful forces. Sometimes the most beautiful truths emerge from the most unexpected moments. And sometimes a lion escaping a zoo teaches us more about the human heart than we ever thought possible. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in these unbreakable bonds. What's the most amazing story you've ever witnessed? Share it in the comments below. Your story might be featured in part 2. Don't miss it.